Hi, everyone, out in social media or YouTube world. This is the super exciting very first live stream for Two Broads Talking Politics. So brand new technology that we are trying out here. And our very willing guinea pig for this is Jillian Freeland. So hi, Jillian.
Hi. Hope everybody's doing well, trying to adapt to life in times of COVID.
Yeah. So we talked about a little less than a month ago on the podcast. And so people can check out that as well. But there have been some big developments in your race since that time. Starting with, you were endorsed by Julian Castro, and I gather got to hang out with him today.
I did, yeah. They gave us a buzz and said, "Hey, we're touring your great state, and if any of this is close to you, please come by." So I went on down to Pueblo, Colorado, which actually we have redistricting coming up across the nation, and it's likely that Pueblo will become part of Colorado's 5th district. So I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll come down and visit, and share how important it is that everybody ride with Biden." And Secretary Castro is just a wonderful human, and so every opportunity to speak with him, I try to get to where he is. So yeah, that was really neat. And I brought my mommy, which she's actually really shy. The whole concept of campaigning is very foreign to her, and she's definitely been a very important part of the team, especially this last month. She has come in and helped our family a lot, because we have a kindergartner who is online schooling, which is very challenging. And I know that that's something that a lot of parents have taken on. And we're super grateful. Yeah. Well, and they've said that now that the second quarter is starting, a lot of parents have actually decided that it's too much and they are going to go ahead and send their kids in. And it really makes me appreciative of teachers and the struggles that they face and the work that they do. And unfortunately, here in Colorado, we pay a pittance. Honestly, I don't know how people pay their bills and their student loans and feed themselves with what we pay Colorado teachers to start. And I am connected to a lot of the local candidates that are running for the state house and the state senate. And I am confident that they are going to take big steps to make sure that education both meets the needs of the communities, but also pays the teachers what they're worth. Because holy Toledo, what hardworking people, and we should pony up.
Yeah, definitely. So you are running in the Colorado 5th Congressional District, currently represented by a Republican. And last time we talked about, this has been a Republican district on paper, at least. But you've done a great job with fundraising. So talk to me a little bit about that and the momentum and energy that you're seeing in this race.
It's kind of awe-inspiring, because I'm just a regular gal, and thousands of people have contributed to this campaign. And I think that's because our country is actually headed in the right direction. This Trump administration has been terrifying, and it woke a lot of folks up. We're seeing huge numbers of people voting early, and that momentum also was reflected in our fundraising. And not only did I outraise Congressman Lamborn last quarter, but also my money came from people, not from PACs. When you look at his funding, I mean, the man needs a NASCAR jacket. It's all like T-Mobile and like, a bunch of tech companies. And I do encourage you all, and I'm going to show my nerd here for a second, get on to your state or the Federal Election Commission's websites and really look at where the money comes from for the people that are representing you, because it's just hard, cold data. In this country, in 90% of the races, whoever fundraises the most wins. I'll just let that sink in with you for a second.
Yeah.
And so, people have really stepped up and fueled this campaign. And because of that, we outraised Doug last quarter. We still have less money than him because,
Right.
someone who's been he's been in Colorado and federal politics for 25 years now. And so his PACs, they know when it's time to cut that check. And Koch
Mhm.
Industries regularly steps up, lots of extraction industries and tech companies, a lot of international law firms. And those aren't the people that he represents,
Mm-mm.
like
Yeah.
the folks here in Colorado, really, they just want to hear from him and be able to speak to him. And it's clear from his fundraising who he actually talks to, and it's not people in the district. And so I am honored and excited by those fundraising numbers. And, to show my nerd a little bit more, this district has changed a lot in the last 4 years. The first 2 years of the Trump administration saw a slight shift toward
Mm.
unaffiliated voters. They were the majority by about 1,500 in 2018. Unaffiliated voters are the majority by 34,000 voters now. And so
Yeah.
this district isn't a monolith, and it needs someone to represent it that recognizes how important diversity is, and that it is our strength as a nation and as a district. And that stating, as my opponent Congressman Lamborn does, that you only represent a certain segment of the district, that's hurting all of us. And we all have much more in common than we have different. We all have people we care about. We just want to make a living and feed our kids and love our loved ones. And especially now in the midst of this pandemic, when people are struggling, we need representatives who are in that class of people who are struggling. And we have been fortunate. My husband has been in a work at home position for several years now, and so it hasn't been a big upheaval for us. But family across the nation are grappling with, shifting to a telecommuting model or
Mhm.
having lost their jobs altogether. Small business owners are struggling. And uh, we need people in office who have faced that, not people who have been insulated by a cushy pension and family inheritance. Trump.
Yeah.
So
So when you mentioned that, the that's such a shocking stat. The people who raise more money win so frequently. Why is that? What do you use as a candidate? What do you use fundraising dollars for? What could that mean for you in these final 10 days if some of the people watching this did step up and give a little bit?
Well, even volunteer activities, it takes funds behind that. So a lot of people right now are texting and
Mhm.
calling, and those technology pieces, the information that feeds those technology pieces, this costs us money. Well, I think it's tied now for software and technology subscriptions and staff,
Mm.
because I have two little girls. They're 2 and 5, and childcare has been a really significant expense. And in fact, this is one of the ways that simply running for office has revolutionized federal elections, because there's an amazing woman. Her name is Luba Shirley. She ran for the House, and she petitioned the Federal Election Commission to be able to use campaign funds for childcare. And we're a single income family. And so me being able to pay for childcare through the campaign was absolutely critical. Like, I could not
Mhm.
have done this without that. And because I try to walk the walk, I pay my staff a living wage. The lowest wage on my campaign staff is $16 an hour. And that's because I know what it costs to live in this community.
Yeah.
And we're also a union campaign, because unions built the middle class, and they give employees a voice within their workplaces. And honestly, as an employer, it protects me as well, because it gives us the processes to make sure, if something happens, we have a really clearly laid out way to get justice for the employee and the employer. And having those unions there to act as that negotiating helpful force, it's something that I value in the trades and in nurses are unionized. All of these segments of our society have benefited from unionization, and my opponent included. A lot of Republican legislators are anti-union, and the thing is, unions increase wages, they improve safety in the workplace. Right now, they are the difference between getting good health care and a health care plan that is a piece of paper that doesn't actually help you with anything. And so we wanted to communicate through our campaign how much we valued unions by unionizing. So we're actually the only unionized congressional campaign in the state. And I'm really proud of that. And plus, I love my union guys. And they have been very supportive of local efforts to return power to the people. They frequently, for people over the last few years have said, sure, use our space to organize. And the grassroots energy in this community and across the nation is awe-inspiring. I mean, when I call voters these days, they're like, God, you're like the third call I've gotten today. I say, well, if you turn in your ballot, we'll stop calling you.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's challenging to campaign in these times, but by really walking the walk, by taking good care of our employees, I've been able to build a team that has adjusted really well to trying to campaign in times of COVID. And so, on top of the staffing costs, then we've got the software that keeps track of, who we've talked to and who already turned in their ballot. We send emails to people, we call people, we text people. We left thousands of pieces of literature at doors. And of course, all of these things cost money. And so I recently read a statistic that there are going to be about $11 billion spent on this election cycle. And that just makes me like, I mean, the mom in me can't help but think how many dinners that is for a family of four. And so changing the way we conduct our elections is very high on my list of priorities. And the fact that, my opponent, Congressman Lamborn, can have 400 grand in the bank because PACs that have companies around the world have ponied up for him, that's a sign of an unhealthy election system. And I truly believe that people would be better served by a publicly funded election system. There should be no fundraising calling. I mean, Donald Trump talked about this years ago, that he gives to political candidates because he knows that later, if he gives them a call, they will answer that phone. And that's corruption. I mean, and look up corruption in the dictionary. There's probably a picture of Donald Trump right there.
If there isn't yet, there should be.
Let's petition Merriam-Webster, right?
Yeah. So following up on the sort of how you value staff and how you think about that, Congressman Lamborn had a couple of his staff members test positive for COVID. How do you take that sort of thinking about how to treat and care for staff during a campaign, and then translate that to if you are in Congress as a congresswoman, how you'll think about your congressional staff and making sure that they are as healthy, as supported as possible?
Well, it's unfortunately been endemic to the Republican Party and their staff to not take appropriate safety measures. And, one of the things that I frequently remind people, we don't question why a surgeon wears a mask in an operating room. It's because it reduces the transmission of disease. And so I find the Republican administration's resistance to wearing a mask incredibly irresponsible and dishonest. And it's really unfortunate that partisanship has crept into basic health and safety measures. And so when his staff tested positive, I guess back up a little bit. You assume that people who work in an office are there because they believe in the ideals of the legislator. And so these aren't people who are partisan hacks who are looking to destroy his career. And they actually reached out to local reporters because they were concerned. They were apparently told not to inform their roommates that they may have been exposed to COVID. And for one thing, that's just bad contact tracing. It's irresponsible. For another, the congressman at that time went through contact tracing. For one thing, he hadn't been in the office enough for the physician to say, oh, you've been exposed, which is just like its own whole thing. But additionally, he denied that contact tracing to people who live with his staff members and potentially put their lives at risk. Because, I mean, when we look at the data, we know that people with pre-existing conditions and folks in older age demographics are the most at risk. But we can't have truly excellent data and a solid understanding of how this disease is transmitted without the data. That contact tracing is everything. And when we look at other nations, I mean, New Zealand, Jacinda is like one of my personal heroes. They were really logical and very aggressive in localized quarantines. And guess what? They haven't had community transmission in months. And because of that, they're not social distancing. They can go to rallies. They don't need to wear masks. And I recognize that wearing a mask to the grocery store isn't normal for us, that it's not the most comfortable thing we've ever experienced. But we're in this together. And we have to look out for our communities, for our neighbors, for our grandmas and grandpas, for the people that we don't even know have underlying health conditions. This is just being a good human. And so please do, folks, wear your masks. This virus does not care whether you are Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Unity, not registered to vote. It just is out there and it's hurting people. I mean, we have lost nearly 220,000 Americans at this point, and we are on an upswing. And so I just urge everyone, the power is with you. Wear a mask if you have to go out. Stay home if you don't, and wash your dang hands. I mean, if you need a tutorial, my 5-year-old is a total boss. To get the fingernails between all the fingers, she can teach you. So just hit me up. I'll get you on a FaceTime. She'll teach you how to wash your hands.
I love it. I love it. All right. So we've got 10 days left, 10 very quick days that I'm hoping they fly by. You're probably not. But what can people do to help out your campaign in those final 10 days?
I mean, fundraising is always an issue. And I've mentioned my discomfort with fundraising. I hate calling people and asking for money. And so if you are hearing this message, or if you've received an email, or even if you're just looking for, someone who has a background in healthcare to write health policy, kicking in a few bucks really does make a difference. And I joke a lot about being a coupon clipper. I am that woman who will stand and wait for the manager to come for my 75 cents. I operate this campaign the same way. And that's how I'll legislate as well. I am going to squeeze every penny because I recognize that legislators are spending other people's money. I take that really seriously. And I will work every day to make sure that money is used responsibly and that it gets to the places that need it the most. So you can go to the website. It's jillianfreeland.com. That's where you can contribute. There's a big old button right at the top. You can also sign up to volunteer there. We are doing phone banking, and we will have one more round of texting to go out. So if that's your bag, let us know. And most importantly, talk to the people in your community. That person-to-person interaction with someone is going to be the most meaningful and impactful. And I think that the reason we got to this place, that our government is so unhealthy and that we are struggling to even talking to members of our family, is because we've lost some of those skills. And so have those hard conversations. If you think you're going to lose it, take a deep breath before you say something else. Woosah. and keep having the conversation, because change isn't going to happen if we don't all take action. And this year, voting isn't enough. You vote, and make sure that your friends vote as well, and that they understand what is on the ballot.
All right, Jillian, anything else you wanted to make sure we talk about today?
Take care of each other. I beg of you, have compassion, have empathy, and just know we're all struggling. And sometimes even taking 10 seconds to send a text to somebody can lift them up as they go through a hard day. So just reach out and be gentle with yourself as well. This is hard, but we will get through it. And that refers to both our election and the pandemic. So just stick with it. We're almost through it, and take care of each other.
All right. And we've got your district on our list of races to watch on election night when we do our live show. So anyone watching this, we're going to do a joint Two Broads Talking Politics and the Electorate and Mueller, She Wrote, all getting together to do a live show on election night. And this is definitely one of the races we're going to watch. So thank you, Jillian. It was great to talk to you again. And I hope everyone will check out your website. You're very good putting the sign right behind you. So, so we've got it like on screen the whole time.
It's almost like I've done this before.
Yes, excellent. So thank you, Jillian. And thanks to all our viewers.
All right. Thank you, guys.